Greetings everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video for you that is not on fashion or beauty or anything related to those subjects, but it's one relating to disability. Now if you remember last year I did a video called the top 10 misconceptions around sight loss, and this video was so popular that it got a massive reception from people like Scope, the RNIB, Guide Dogs. It was big and I was so pleased with the reception that it got that I've decided to make a sequel to that video. Now this one's going to be called The Things That You Should Never Say or Do to a Visually Impaired Person. Now I'm going to just throw a little disclaimer here to start off with. I don't mean this video to be an insult to anyone, I don't want to patronise anyone, I don't want to make anyone feel bad. If you find that you might have said or done one of these things to a visually impaired person, don't worry about it. Everyone makes mistakes in life. This is just a video to culture you on some of the things that you shouldn't do and just ways that you can, talk to people with visual impairments, and if you want to help them, ways that you can do it in an effective way that does not patronise them or make them feel bad about their disability. To start off with, number one is waving your hand in front of a visually impaired person's face or asking them, how many fingers am I holding up? This is so annoying. I don't know why people feel that they need to do that. Whether they're just trying to test whether you're lying or not about how much sight you have, whether they're trying to be an optician, whether they just want to know if you can see anything. It's just a bit of an insult, to be honest. I don't have a guide dog for the fun of it. I love her to bits and she's my favourite thing in the world, but I don't have a cane or a guide dog for fun. I don't use voiceover for fun. I do it because I genuinely can't see very well, and you waving your hand in front of my face is not going to change the fact that I have got 10% remaining vision in my left eye. So just please don't do that in future. If you're not too sure about how much sight someone's got, then just ask them how much sight they've got, because that's just a better way than just doing this or how many fingers am I holding up? Number two is asking a person if they can see something, if they're asking for directions. Now, if someone with a visual impairment, like maybe who has a guide dog or a long cane, comes up to you and says, excuse me, how do I get to the town centre, for example, I don't think it's good to say, can you see that? Instead you could say, how much can you see? How far ahead of you can you see? Can you see that big bus stop? Can you see that big red thing in the distance? Can you see blah blah blah? Or if not, what would help you if I told you what things to listen out for or what things to feel out for with your cane? Or you could also just say to them, if you walk at a slow distance for about 2 minutes, you'll reach so and so, and then cross the road, and then you'll reach a certain distance. If a person's got a guide dog, for instance, they might be able to tell a lot by themselves. So if you just tell them certain directions to go in, that might be enough. But it's always worth asking a person how much they can see, what they can see, if they can't see what would help them, but never to surmise that a person can see what's in front of them, because 9 times out of 10 they might not be able to. I think you giving them visual information might not be the best thing for them. So just refrain from that in the future and instead think to yourself, how would I manage if I was visually impaired? What would I want this person to tell me? Because that will 9 times out of 10 be the better response to give. Number 3 is my most hated one. It's my pet hate above all others, and if any of you have done this one, I would really consider refraining from this in the future, and that is speaking to the person that's with the disabled person as opposed to them. What I mean by this is that, say for instance, a person comes up to you when you're visually impaired or disabled. What they will do is they will speak to the person and ask them what their level of vision is or what their disability is, or say something like, it's such a shame for that person, or oh, it's so sad that they've ended up like this, or oh, do they want a sugar in their tea? And that is just a really, really, really annoying thing to do, and it's very commonplace in the world of disability. Asking a person that's with the person how many sugars they want in their tea is removing their ability to talk to you. It's like you're saying that they can't speak for themselves just because they've got a disability, which is not true. Ask them, don't ask the person that's with them, ask them. Speak to them like you would anyone else, because like anyone else, they have got thoughts and opinions and they can speak to you and they can tell you if they want sugar in their tea. And when my mother's been with me on these occasions and they've done it to her and they've spoke to her about my disability and not me, she will just turn it around on them. She will make them speak to me. She will say, well, Emily, why don't you tell this person? Or Emily, why don't you explain what your vision is to this person? Because it's It's just when a person does that, they might not be doing it intentionally to offend people, they just might be a bit scared of the topic of disability, and they might not want to speak to the disabled person themselves. Even though this is wrong and they shouldn't do this, it's just something you've got to remember. Don't be scared about disability, and don't feel like you can't speak to a disabled person about the disability. You can. It's just about having the right words to say and knowing how to say it. So number 4, which I'm going to talk about, is one that it's both funny, but it is very serious as well, and that is grabbing a visually impaired person without warning. Now, people usually do this if they're trying to guide you somewhere. So for instance, they see a person on the street and they're visually impaired and they look like they need some help. They might go up to a person and just grab them by the arm and try and help them and try and guide them somewhere. This is never the thing to do. Imagine you're visually impaired. You're walking across the street at night, minding your own business, wanting to get home, and then someone comes up and grabs you by the arm. You don't know whether that person is trying to help you or is going to try and murder you. Now, that would be a very scary situation for anyone, but especially someone who's visually impaired. So if you're trying to help a person who's visually impaired and try and guide them somewhere, the best thing to do is to go up to them, introduce yourself, say your name, who you are, and ask them, do you need any help? If they say no, that's fine, you can get on with your own business, but never go up to them and just randomly grab them by the arm, because it would be your own fault if they turned around and punched you in the face out of sheer fright. Now, just remember that for future reference. Go up and introduce yourself, never go up and grab someone. And now, number 5 kind of relates to the last one, and that is, don't assume that all visually impaired people need help. Now, it's always good if you go up to a person and ask them if they need help if they're visually impaired, because that's just really lovely to do. And I'm not saying that we don't appreciate it, because I can speak on behalf of a lot of visually impaired people. We really appreciate the public's help. But the thing not to do is, if they say to you, no, we don't need any help, don't presume that they still do and try and badger them the whole time if they need help. Although it's lovely and I know they're just trying to be nice, if I say I don't need any help, I don't need any help. Not everyone with visual impairments is completely blind. Not only that, they might really feel very confident in their natural environment and they just might not need any help. So just don't presume that everyone with visual impairments does need help. And if they say no, they just genuinely mean it because they don't need any help. Number 6, saying the words, it's over there. Oh my god, I hate it when I go into my parents' bedroom and I ask my mum, where's that, where's that remote? And she says it's over there. Or I say to someone in a supermarket, where can I find the cakes? And they say, oh, they're over there. I'm visually impaired. The word there is an infinite concept. There could mean anything. It could mean northwest, it could mean southwest, it could mean up, it could mean down, it could mean stuff down my bra, it could mean anything. So it's just not a helpful concept. What would be helpful if you said it's over to your left a couple of paces, or it's behind you, or it's just in front of you slightly, or if, say for instance, you visualised yourself in a clock, it would be to say it's over in the direction of 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 6 o'clock. The thing that is not helpful is to say to me it's over there, because I have no idea of what over there means, because the word there means absolutely nothing to me. Number 7 would be refusing access to a person with a guide dog, or an assistance dog indeed. This one's very serious. Now, if you are a shop owner or someone who has refused access to a visually impaired person due to the fact that they've got a guide dog, this is illegal. It's discrimination and it's not allowed. It is not permitted in the UK. A person with a guide dog, it's a necessity. They need that guide dog to get them around from A to B, and it's their mobility aid. And they are exempt from being excused from anywhere. Guide dogs are allowed in any public place. You have to remember that that dog is there for a reason. That dog is there to help that person, and you refusing a visually impaired person because they've got a guide dog is discrimination against a disability, and it's not right, and you will get penalised for it. So please don't do that to a visually impaired person, because the consequences are very great. Number 8, feeding a guide dog. I get it a lot. People will say to me, oh, can she have a biscuit, or can she have a bit of my banana, or can she have this, can she have that? If a guide dog's working, if their harness is up and they're working and they're taking the person from A to B, they are not allowed food, because guide dogs as a rule are very foodie animals. All dogs are, but especially Labradors, which is the predominant breed that guide dogs use. They are very foodie, and if you start feeding them food, they will not be doing the job that they're supposed to be doing, which is guiding that person safely and effectively. So to put this into perspective, let me throw out an example here. So for instance, you go and feed that guide dog a chip. They've got the flavour of what a chip tastes like, and they will know what it smells like. when that guide dog owner is taken out for a walk with the guide dog, they might see chips in the road. They're not going to be concentrating on guiding that person anymore. They're going to be trying to pull that guide dog owner into the road to get the chips. And this is of course really dangerous because a person with a visual impairment relies on that guide dog to take them everywhere and to get them from A to B safely. So just please remember the consequences that will come after it, because that might severely inhibit that guide dog's ability to learn and to guide the person and the guide dog owner's safety. Number 9. Talking to a person with a visual impairment as if they were stupid or as if they didn't know what you were talking about. A person with a visual impairment is in no way, shape or form prevented to understand what you're saying. We are completely coherent in our thoughts and what we say, and we are able to talk to you on a level. Don't feel the need to shout at us as if we can't hear or as if we can't understand you, like, do you want some help, or are you okay? I have got this before and I'm not lying. I have had people talk to me like this. A person with a visual impairment can talk to you just like you would anyone else, and if you want to ask them a question, just ask them normally. Don't feel the need to have to ask them as if they were on some LSD trip, because that's just never the right thing to do. Just remember, talk to them normally and everything should be fine. Number 10. Presuming that a visually impaired person does not have any quality of living. People have come up to me in the past and they said things like, can you do anything? Can you work? Do you just sit indoors all day and listen to the radio? And no, the answer to that is I have a very good standard of living. I'm at university studying for a degree, I have a very good social life, I am a journalist, I have a lot of fun, and I really enjoy my life. I personally think I've got a good quality of life, as do a lot of other people with visual impairments. Just being visually impaired does not mean that you can't live anymore and that you can't have fun. You are still able to do all the things that you were able to do beforehand, but just in a different way. You can enjoy comedy, you can enjoy water sports, you can enjoy film, you can enjoy books, just like anyone else. Just because you might do things in a different way does not mean to say that you are not able to have a good standard of living, and don't let anyone else convince you otherwise. The last one is moving things without warning or walking away from a visually impaired person without telling them. Now, people might do this to me. Sometimes they might move, say for instance, a book or something, or they might move, you know, my laptop or whatever, or they might move a drink and I've not been aware of that they've done it, and I might end up knocking the contents of that drink all over the floor or knocking the popcorn everywhere. And if I do that, it's really quite embarrassing for me, and it could have been easily avoided if you just have said to me, Emily, I've moved that over to your left, or I've moved that just ahead of you a little bit. Then I'll be aware of where that thing is and I won't be inclined to knock it over or to do some haphazard, you know, arm movement that means that I've just had a total disaster. And if you walk away from a person with a visual impairment halfway through a conversation, they might still be there thinking you're there and continue to talk to you like, oh, blah 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 blah, yeah, la la la, or oh, do you know if this bus is coming yet? I don't think it is. And if a person sees a visually impaired person talking to themselves, this henceforth starts off these ideas in their head that people with visual impairments are mad. We're not mad, we just might have a totally different image in our head of what's going on to what you do. So just remember, if you have finished a conversation with that person, just say, oh, I'm off now, nice to see you, blah blah blah, toodaloo, and just walk off. Don't end the conversation halfway through, always end it on a bye-bye and go. So that concludes the top things you should never say or do to a visually impaired person. I really hope you enjoyed it and it's given you some insight as to what not to do and what to do. People with visual impairments, I hope this gave you a few chuckles. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe with any of your feedback, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!